This is a CJAM Oral History interview for the CJAM Oral History Project. Today is Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023, and it is 5:47 p.m. My name is Olivia Patricia, and I am in the large production studio here at CJAM, and I am sitting with Ollie. How do you say your last name again?
Sauve.
Sauve. I'm sitting here with Ollie Sauve. Ollie, can you start by introducing yourself?
Yes, so I initially started volunteering with CJAM over the summer of 2023. I had just completed my master's degree in neuroscience, and I was kind of looking for something to do. I've produced a number of interviews that have been aired over the CJAM interviews section, and I have also produced some PSAs for the station as well.
Nice. How did you discover CJAM?
Well, I had been interested in community radio for a little bit prior to finding out about the studio, and I thought it would be wise just to Google to see if Windsor had anything in a similar vein which I could get involved with.
So how did you become interested in community radio then?
It's kind of a very long and boring story about my life, but I guess mostly I would say I was very lonely over the pandemic. I had in 2020, I had a near-death experience with COVID from which my cat saved my life, and I realized that I needed to do something with my life, or I was just going to keep spending all my time in my room alone. And then there was another 2 years of lockdown, after which I was very restless to get out and start doing things. And I decided to start getting involved in more things in the community, including community radio, but not limited to that.
Oh, that's amazing. So I guess can you describe, in more detail what you've been doing here at CJAM recently?
So mostly my focus has been on interviews as of late, and that's partly because I'm still kind of trying to prove myself, especially to the people who might be willing to greenlight a show for me in the near future. I have I kind of want to get into more experimental radio and some more interesting concepts, and I want to prove that I have what it takes to kind of carry a show like that. So I started with some pretty standard interviews, mostly to provide the community with information about services they may have access to, in particular the Windsor Public Library, and I have some other ones that might be coming up with 211 and other services like that. Sorry, what was the question again?
What sort of interviews have you been doing?
Yes, so things like that in the community. And then also some other more artistic ventures. So I've interviewed Cinema Detroit because I think it would be great if people who are interested in film in Windsor were able to go and see more films, especially indie films that maybe don't get a lot of attention in mainstream cinema. And then in a similar vein, I'm also planning similar interviews with other organizations in different artistic areas as well.
That is so cool. So you said you were interested in making like a radio like show, like a weekly program or bi-weekly. Could you explain a bit further what you want that to look like?
So my kind of main concept for it now is sort of a variety show. So kind of whatever I feel like. That's why I feel like I have to prove myself so much, and that my personality alone is able to carry something like that. So I like a lot of different music. Well, I like a lot of different genres of music. I wouldn't say I like a lot of music. I'm kind of very picky about the actual music I listen to. And then also some interviews as well. So I think it would be interesting to interview some bands and to go out on the street and do some man on the street style interviews and maybe get a little weird with it, bring some comedy elements in and do some kind of wacky stuff. I don't know.
That sounds so fun, and I guess that's kind of like the really great thing about campus and community radio is that you can have like a niche little radio show and make it to be whatever you want it to be.
That's true. Nardwar got his start on community radio, in BC.
No way. He's the guy that with the silly hat, right?
Yeah, the doot-doodle-oot-doot guy.
Oh my god, that makes so much sense that he got to start doing community radio.
No, out in BC.
BC. I didn't know he was Canadian. The more you know. What was your interview with Cinema Detroit like?
That was actually my first interview. I was a little bit nervous, but it went great. So I don't really think I had a need to be. So I started out by contacting them, and then I coordinated a time with them, and I sent them a list of questions. I always like to send a list of questions to my interview subjects in advance because I don't want them to feel caught off guard or anything. And even when I do want to catch them off guard, if I give them a list of topics, it catches them even more off guard if they think they know what they're expecting and they don't.
Oh, I see.
And that worked out pretty well. That aired for a short period because I wanted to kind of connect the community with the services they were providing. So we had some timely information in there, specifically in regards to what movies were airing at which dates so people could actually go and see them. We talked a little bit about arts funding in Canada versus the US and how they've been struggling to get funding. They recently had to close their brick and mortar location, but they've moved to a pop-up style of events lately, which has been working for them so far. And I think in the future I'd actually like to do a kind of all-seasons interview, which has kind of a more generic subject matter, which we can then append the dates of the showings that they're going to have to the end of the interview.
That's great.
On a rolling basis, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any interviews planned for the future?
Yes, actually. I was in New York over the summer. I had just finished my master's, and I thought, well, I'm going to go on vacation to treat myself. And while I was on vacation, I thought it would be fun to go see just some local bands that I had never heard of in some crappy bar. Because I'm going to be honest, that's my favorite place to be. I love seeing little local shows with people nobody have ever heard of and maybe seeing something really cool. Because, well, people always like to complain about how things aren't the same as they used to be and how you can't go and do that nowadays in regards to, I don't know, going to see like an indie movie or something in a little theater, or how you can't make rock and roll anymore because everything on the radio is pop. But those things never really went away. They're still there. They're still there in your local bars and in your local cinemas. And if you want to actually go and see something that might be the next, I don't know, Nirvana or something, you actually have to go and see them while they're in their fetal stage, Sorry.
No worries.
Because, those big bands that you're fans of, they didn't get their start playing stadiums. They were at your local crappy bar as well. You have to go and see them while they're there so they get big,
Exactly. Speaking of local bars, you are a volunteer at the CJAM's very first Higher Ground Music Festival, which wrapped up just a few days before we're recording this interview. What was that experience like for you?
That was a lot of fun. So I've volunteered at local events at other times as well. That's actually how I met Jovan, who's another volunteer at CJAM right now. We met while we were volunteering at a local comic convention because we wanted to get in for free. So that's something I've done a lot in the past. And it was a lot of fun because, local bands, local bars, that's kind of my favorite thing. And actually getting to go and see so many different acts just because I was there almost all the days that they were putting the festival on, and seeing a whole really random assortment of different genres and show types. It was a lot of fun.
What was your favorite shows that you saw that weekend?
I'm going to have to say it was the Big City Germs show because I'm a big punk fan.
I didn't get to see that one. I was so burnt out by the last day that I tucked myself away at Fog. But yeah, I bet that was amazing.
Yeah. I always love getting in the pit, you know?
Was there a pit at that show?
I honestly can't remember.
That is so fair.
I'm sure I took a bite out of someone's ear eventually at some point. Whether or not there was a pit, I can't say.
And are you from Windsor?
I was actually initially from Bell River. I moved here probably when I was about 10 or 11, and I've been here since. And I'm not sure I want to stay in Windsor forever. You know, I kind of want to move around a little bit, and it's kind of hard finding a job for a neuroscience master's degree in Windsor. But, you know, while I'm here, I'm going to make the most of it. And it's not like the things that I want to do in bigger cities don't happen here, you know? So why wait? Why put my life on hold?
I mean, I also, I guess, had a similar thing. I'm not from Windsor, but when I came here, I really had to look for the arts and culture because we were just getting out of the pandemic when I first arrived in Windsor. And like right now, I would say we have quite the amazing arts and culture scene. Do you get involved at all or go to see shows?
I do. I go to see shows pretty often. I always go to see Celebrity Death Slot Machine when they're in town. I like them. They're a nice dark wave, kind of goth band from Georgia. They're great. And then another one I always go to see. There was another one. Who was it? I've seen them twice. Oh, Tunic. Tunic from, I think it's Winnipeg?
Nice.
Manitoba?
Somewhere that's not Ontario.
Yeah. But they're great. So loud. So much fun. There's always a pit.
Oh, you know what band you would like that's local? Cicada. They do kind of like punky, a little bit of screaming. They're a lot of fun.
I'll have to check them out.
What is your favorite venue in Windsor to see a show at?
I'm going to have to say Meteor, just because it's the one I go to most often.
Yeah, Meteor is great. Great owner. Great sound system they have there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a bit bigger than Fog.
But it's still kind of intimate, so if you want to go up and say, that was a great show, there'll be... You have lots of opportunities to go and talk to the bands.
I don't think there's much of a green room at Meteor or at Fog.
I don't think there's one at all, honestly. I think it's just like a little alcove next to the stage that they keep their equipment in.
That's local bars for you.
That's as local bar as it gets, and I love it.
There's something so special about like getting to greet the artist after the show and say, hey, like, thanks for putting on such a great set.
And if you're a local musician, those kinds of connections can be really important because you might be opening for them someday, or they might even be opening for you someday. You know, I work on a couple of musical projects myself, and it's been I've kind of felt the need to ingratiate myself with the local arts community in Windsor, just so I have those kind of connections when I'm ready to start playing shows on my own.
Are you a musician?
I am.
I did not know this. What type of music do you do?
It feels so cliche to say experimental, but that's what I'm going to call it. It's a lot of like kind of half screamo, punk, metal, kind of... I really like noise bands, harsh noise.
Dude, there was, I wish you were there, but there was like a warehouse show that happened with this band called Meandergreen that's super experimental.
Oh, I heard about that one.
And Bog Moss was there. And like Bilal Nasser was there.
That was at Colonial Coffee, wasn't it?
It was. Were you there?
I was not. I did not get the opportunity to go, but I heard about it.
I think you would have loved that.
Probably.
So sorry for interrupting you, but like,
go on.
If they ever do that again, me and you, we gotta go.
Oh yeah.
You do experimental stuff. Do you have any like songs that you've written or created?
A couple. I've got a couple in the works, but I'm working with Jovan. He's my drummer as well. We're kind of working on getting things together so we can start playing. I need to get a car so we can start digging. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Windsor's very much, and like the surrounding area. If you don't have a car, you're kind of stuck where you are, and the transit.
It could be better. It could be better.
It could be a lot better. What got you started into doing music? I'm so sorry.
That's another really long and boring story about my life. But I will say that in high school, I was in a very serious, very competitive marching band. I played alto saxophone for the Windsor Optimist Youth Band. And then after high school, I kind of stopped focusing on music seriously. And then almost entirely during my undergrad because I was so focused on getting my master's. And I kind of regret it because it was not the best experience for me. And now that it's over, I'm really trying to get back to that and trying to find a new purpose for my life now that I have my degree.
Mm-hmm. So many people that I've interviewed here are musicians, and, they have a degree in something, maybe like neuroscience or something else. And, you have the job that makes you money, and then you have the hobby or the side gig that fills your soul. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what music is for you?
A little bit. I won't say I dislike my job. It's a job. It pays well. It can be interesting sometimes, but I would say you're right about it paying the bills. I think that's true for a lot of struggling artists. Not that I would consider myself a struggling artist. I'm going to be honest. I make like $45,000 a year at this sweet insurance gig, but let's get real. It can be hard finding something that you're passionate about or that you want to do with your life if for whatever reason your career isn't as fulfilling as you thought it would be. And there are a lot of potential avenues you can explore, like film or visual art or performance art or music or even fencing. I found a new love of that since the start of the pandemic, or playing DDR. I do a lot of that. But
what's DDR?
Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh, I love Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh, yeah. There's this machine at this arcade I go to. It's not really DDR, but it's a DDR-like game, and I'm getting up there. I'm working on my footwork.
That's so fun.
But yeah, you really need something to kind of spend your time on, and I'm the kind of person that if I don't have a goal I'm working towards, I feel kind of useless. So trying to fill that space with a lot of different things right now.
Yeah, I feel like I went through a similar thing when I started at CJAM. I was kind of at a point that like I needed a hobby because I was studying my hobby as like an academic thing. So I was like, oh no, what do I do now? So, and I found radio. And like I'm working for the station right now, but I still do my radio show, which is very different than this oral history project I'm doing. But it's my hobby.
It's really important to have something to kind of take your mind off of everything and just put everything into.
So you've only been a volunteer for a few months now.
Yes.
How would you rate your experience?
Oh my God. Is there a scale? Because if it's a 10, I'm going to give it a 20.
Woo! Look at us.
It's so much fun, honestly. It's the thing I'm most surprised about is how much everybody kind of trusted me right off the bat. I'm used to having to work to earn my spot, especially throughout my degree. You have to earn the trust of your supervisor and earn the trust of all the other people working in the lab. But here they're like, you seem to be really doing a good job on that. Do you want to do more? And I'm like, yeah, I want to do more. And they're like, okay, go crazy. We're not going to tell you what to do. I have so much autonomy. I don't even know what to do with it.
I guess it's one of those like magical blessings of community radio.
And everyone here is so nice. They've been so welcoming. It feels great.
What would you say to someone who is considering volunteering at CJAM in any capacity?
Do it. You don't even have to have a plan going in. They'll find something for you to do, or you might find something you really like yourself. But it's so much fun, and it's providing such a good service to the community. You have so many opportunities to meet new people and get really ingratiated in those communities you might be interested in. It's really awesome.
That's amazing. Before we wrap up, do you have any, I know you've only been here a short time, but like what's your favorite memory so far from volunteering at the station?
Do I have one? Kind of just sitting in the studio while Jovan's recording his show and bothering him.
For context, Jovan does Metalcore Hour. which
Saturdays at 3 p.m.
Yeah, check it out. And I can't wait to see your show once you get that on the air.
Got to get all the pieces together.
I believe in you. Well, Ollie, thank you so much for sitting down with me and recording this little interview despite only being here for a short amount of time.
Yes, it was great to be here.
Thanks for contributing to CJAM History.